Welcome to the sale of Salvos. We trust that you'll be blessed by this week's video.
Good morning. How are you all doing this morning? Cold. Come on, it's still not as cold as that one fateful day. I'm going to keep that in my head. And always that will be my register of if it's cold or not. I hope you're in for an interesting morning. Simon and I are a little bit nervous actually. We are going to start this morning with some rules of what's going to happen, and then I'm going to give you a few more seconds to fill out anything you might want, because there's only a few in there, and if you don't come up with stuff, Simon and I might have to come up with stuff, and that will be interesting. The rules of today are Stump the Preacher. Simon and I have one song or one prayer activity to prepare from a topic that we pull out of the bonnet box. That's it. So we're talking 3 or 4 minutes to prepare what we're going to say and get it organised in our head. We then have 5 minutes to deliver our thoughts or not. We get one veto of, oh my goodness, I cannot possibly do that topic. But if we do veto, we have to prepare a page worth of notes for you for next week, for whoever's topic it was. Because Simon said, what if we veto and someone gets upset? And I went, oh yeah. So if we do veto, we have to prepare a page worth of notes, and that is it. I think that was the rules we came up with, wasn't it? Yes, you can keep adding if you think of anything else you want, but we're going to do 4. So Simon and I will do 2 each throughout the meeting. In between, we've got a few prayer activities for you, we've got some songs, and we've got all the usual things you would have in a meeting. But today is your Stump the Preacher day, and I trust you all to try not to get us fired. Knowing more about the Old Testament. We have 5-minute countdowns, don't we, Pete? Which means that when it's done, that is it. That's all Simon gets.
Just wait a second. Alright, better follow the 5-minute countdown. Alright, start one up, Pete. See how this goes. Right, 5 minutes. The Old Testament is a fascinating half of the Bible. It's the oldest part of history. It's full of history. It's full of God really establishing who He is. It's all about God sort of letting us know who He was and pointing us towards His Son, who's going to come in the New Testament. So the New Testament was all about Jesus. I really believe the Old Testament was really just getting us to know who God was, really showing us His character, letting us know that He really loves us. There's some pretty crazy stuff in the Old Testament too. There's a whole lot of people fighting, but that was God really establishing His people as well. God was really trying to show us He wanted His people to be set apart and special, set apart from the rest of the world. He wanted us to be lights to the rest of the world. And it's a bit of the story of humanity. It shows us God setting us apart, telling us we're special, and then us being naughty again. It's always us falling backwards and sort of us going back to our default of sinful nature. So the Old Testament covers a whole lot of stuff, from history to poetry to the prophets. There's one stage when Moses was taking his people away from Egypt, out of slavery into the Promised Land. God was talking to His people by Himself, and that scared people so much, hearing the voice of God. I'm not sure if you can imagine what that sounds like, but us hearing the voice of God can be terrifying. Because God is such a holy God, and we are such sinful, broken people. And when they heard God's voice, they said, we can't be in your presence. Send someone to speak on behalf of you. And that's when the prophets raised up. So we've got people like Samuel, like Isaiah, Ezekiel, Joel, a whole lot of people that were raised up at different times to speak to God's people, to pull them back from where they were heading. They were heading down the wrong path quite often. So God would actually send someone. Even if you know the story of Jonah, He sent Jonah to speak to the guys in Nineveh. And Jonah, even as a human, goes, I can't do that. How can I speak on behalf of you, God? I can't do that. So he ran. That's when God sent the whale, or the big fish, to eat him up, saying, I need you to go speak to my people. So he did that. And there's a whole lot of stuff. If you like poetry, the guy actually put some of that in there too, to sort of show a human side of David really running from his fears and people. But yeah, really the Old Testament was more... It's going all right. the Old Testament was really, I believe, God trying to show us who He was. Show us that He loves us. Even just showing the history of, back in Genesis when He created the universe. He created everything by His own hand. And it almost shows God's power, doesn't it? Like when God said in the start, let there be light. As soon as He spoke it, there was. So if God speaks, it is. I love that. So God said, let there be light. Created the universe, created everything in the universe, showed off a little bit with the stars and the galaxies for our pleasure, I think. But then he created all the beings, all the plants, everything like that, and then He created us last. He created us in His image. And that's love right there, isn't it? God creating us in His image. Because He wanted community, He wanted us to be in His presence. He just wanted us to love. And that's sort of the start of the foundation of the whole Bible, I think, especially the Old Testament. So God created us. But then, inevitably, we fell, we didn't listen to Him, we turned our back on Him, ate the forbidden fruit, and that separated us from God. So then, from the rest of the Old Testament, it's sort of us trying to get right with God. And the Old Testament, so the Old Testament was really us trying to get back to God, wasn't it? Trying to say, God, we're actually worthy to be in your presence, but never getting there. And that's what I think the Old Testament is preparing us for the New Testament when Jesus came. So I think the Old Testament was all about us as humanity, us as broken people, us trying to get back to God, falling away. And just that cycle of us being bad, coming back to God, being bad, coming back to God. But God showing His love through and through and through and through, I think. So, yeah, I think it was just really just pointing us towards Jesus, but also the story of humanity at the same time. What else can I say in 40 seconds? This is really good, actually. I love this. Favorite Old Testament book? Probably the prophets, probably Isaiah. Just some of the stuff where God reveals Himself. If you haven't read Isaiah before, there's a part in Isaiah where it talks about Isaiah seeing this vision of God on His throne in the temple, and every time God spoke, the temple shook because of His presence, and the train of His robe, and just the beauty of the angels around God. And that's when I think He called Isaiah. And Isaiah sort of, in this vision, sort of saying, hearing God say, there's all these people that need us. Who will go for us? And Isaiah standing up saying, here I am, send me. There we go. Time's up.
Alright, Pete. Good. Because the sound is going to scare me. Are we talking about patience and 2 children? Right, good. Have children, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Patience is not a virtue of mine at all whatsoever. I'm terrible at it. If you ask me to wait even 5 minutes for something that I think I want right now, not a chance. Ellen will testify to this because when I come up with ideas, they have to happen today or I lose steam. That's it. If we can't buy a new building today, no, done. That's not the building for us. Patience is not my thing, and the Bible brings to us time and time again these stories of patience. Even in a very quick Google search that I just did, it brings up immediately Genesis 29:20, and it talks about the fact that Jacob waited 7 years to be with Rachel. 7 years for the woman you love is a long time, and yet that's a story we have in our Bible. 1 Samuel 13, verses 8 to 14, we have the story of Samuel and Saul. And Samuel is waiting for Saul to come and waiting to try and figure out what they're going to do in terms of God. And he waited 7 days to hear the messages of God. And 2 Samuel 5, verses 4 to 5 reminds us that David was over 30 before he became king. He was anointed as the king of Israel, and he had to wait 30 years before he became the king of the nation that he thought. And for those of us who know the story of David, he went through quite a few trials before he actually became king, including living in a cave for a while. That's not very royal. But then we get to the New Testament, and Jesus starts talking about this idea of patience being a virtue. Patience being something that we should live up to. And immediately my first thought went to the story of the prodigal son in Luke. And it's the story of the 2 sons that wanted their inheritance now. And so the father gave it to them, and one son stayed on the farm and helped his father. And the other son went off and spent everything and had a bit of a party and ended up in the pig slot. There are many, many interpretations of what this passage might mean, but one of them, I think, is patience. Did he really need that right now? Was the money more important than his family and what he does? But the last one, and the one that really speaks to me the most, that I want to bring up today, is Romans 8, chapter 20, verses 24 to 30. It says this: "For in this hope we were saved, but hope that is seen is no hope at all. Who hopes for what they already have? But if we hope for what we do not have yet, we wait for it patiently. In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. We do not know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance with the will of God. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And those he predestined, he also called. Those he called, he also justified. Those he justified, he also glorified." It's kind of a really long, roundabout way of saying, God's got this. God knows what your heart wants and needs before you even ask for it. And God sent his Spirit to be that bridge between us and God. Patience and me are not a good thing. I cannot preach a sermon for you about the many ways that you could be patient in your week today, or the many tips on how you might get better at it. All I can say is trust God. Trust God, that God has it. That God knows the plans, God knows your day, God knows where God is going in your life. And try and faithfully hold on for the ride. And remember that no matter what, God will always love you. Patient or not patient. 12 seconds. Does that sort of answer it, Georgie?
It does, thank you.
All right. Simon, in my 3 seconds left, draw another one, and then we've got another prayer activity to give you your cramming time. How are we going so far? Are you getting the idea? Any leftover ones, Simon and I will have a look at and use for future sermon purposes. What's your topic?
God is in control. He's given us free will. How do we reconcile this? That's a good one. I like that. Give me 2 weeks for that one.
All right, Simon, are you ready?
I think so.
That's it. That's all your cram time.
Should wait for the time for this one. But this one is quite an interesting one that I think all Christians struggle with. It's not good. I think we do all struggle with this at one stage, don't we? At some stage in our lives. God is in control. He's given us free will at the same time. So how do we reconcile free will with God being in control? So I don't know who wrote this, but it's a good question. Very easy. Alan, very good. There's some wise people around here that struggle with these things and wrestle with them. Because I think we need to wrestle with stuff, don't we? We need to wrestle with things in the Bible, with concepts, because we don't grow unless we wrestle with these things. So I think, knowing that God is in control, we know that from the start, don't we? God created the universe. He's holding it all together. He knows the plans for our lives. We read that in the Bible. But at the same time, he tells us we can choose our path. We know that it's God's plan that we all come to know him. We all come to know God. We all want to live with him for eternity. That's his plan for each of us in our lives. But we can choose to walk away from him at any stage, can't we? We can choose to walk away from him, even though he plans us to be with him forever and to love him and to follow his plans for our lives. But we can choose to do that or not. So there's a few concepts that God is all-knowing. So he knows what's happening right now. He also knows what's going to happen in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, 1,000 years' time. God already knows that because he's everywhere at the same time. So there's this mind-blowing stuff. There's mind-blowing things about God that he knows what's going to happen. Even if we choose to turn away from him tomorrow, he already knows that. So he knows everything at the same time, but he gives us choice, but he's also given us a plan. There's a whole lot of stuff we need to wrestle with. And I think, like Joshua 24:15 says, choose for yourself who you will serve. So today, choose who you're going to serve. Are you going to choose to serve God, or are you going to choose to serve yourself? If you choose God, I believe from the scriptures that's the best path for all of us. If we choose to serve ourselves, then we're going to choose a path of destruction, aren't we? We read that in the Bible over and over again, like what I was just talking about before, the Old Testament. We chose destruction for ourselves so many times as humans. But when we chose to serve God, things started working out and it was just better for everyone as well. Proverbs 16:9 says, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Like even when we just choose destruction and go away from God, God still protects us. You can't realise that. Like, you know the footsteps in the sand, that poem? When we look back at our lives, we saw there was two sets of footsteps. Catch my breath. We walk with God. God walks with us. And at times we noticed there was only one set of footprints. And we said, God, why is there only one set of footprints through some of the toughest times in our lives? Why did you leave me during those times? And God says, I've never left you. There's those times when I carried you. That's why there's only one set of footprints. And God always walks with us, even when we turn our backs on Him, when we're going through some tough stuff. God never leaves us, nor forsakes us. The Bible says that. So even when we turn our backs on Him, God's still protecting us and looking after us because He loves us so much. But then at the end of the Bible, in Revelations 3, verse 20, it says, here I am. This is Jesus saying that. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. So there's this beautiful picture of Jesus knocking at Revelations 3. I'm not sure if you've seen the picture. There's a picture of Jesus knocking at the door. And it's basically saying, here I am. If you answer the door, I will come in and eat with you. Everything will be nice. But in that picture, there's no door handle on that door. If you have a look at this picture, if you see what I'm talking about. Because Jesus will knock at the door, but He won't force Himself in. We have to let Him in. So there's a whole lot of stuff, that God is in control. He'll be with us no matter what. He's got a perfect plan for our lives, but we still have to choose that, don't we? We can choose to walk away from Him and choose the path of destruction, or we can choose to walk with Him. I might have been here actually, I heard a while ago, someone said, yeah, this predestination thing, Alexis actually read that verse before about predestination. Aren't we predestined to be good, or aren't we predestined to be bad? But someone told me a while ago, there's like people like Irene, you came to Australia on the boat, didn't you? From the UK? When you go on that boat, I think you might have told me this actually, when you go on the boat from London or UK, that boat was predestined to come to Melbourne, for example. It was predestined to come to Melbourne, just like our lives. God predestines us to go to places or to be people. But at any stage along the path, you could have got off. You could have got off at South Africa and chosen to get off at a different path, even though it was predestined to go to Melbourne. You could have chosen your own adventure. Just like us with our lives, we can, like God might predestine us to achieve great things or to be a certain person. Oh, it's gone already. 20 more seconds. Yeah, but this is a good one. I have to have time on, sorry. But God chooses a path for us. We can choose to follow it or we can choose to get off at any stage. But God's still in control. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what we're going to choose. And He can change things if we need to. It's complicated. But God loves us ultimately, doesn't He? God loves us and wants the best for us. Big question. I'm not sure if I even answered that, but thanks, Ellen.
Alright. Simon, please pray for mental health. I won't preach on that because I can't pray for you. But we can in a second. So the last one is acceptance. What's with all these one words trying to get me to... Alright, you got a final countdown for me, Pete?
Yep.
Oh. That is a countdown, but it's a different one. It's a bit of Hillsong action. Right. Acceptance. Another topic I'm not so good at. You seem to be picking things here, which just proves proves that God has a sense of humour, really, today. I come from a family of very stiff upper lip kind of people. We're originally from Scotland, but I think that whole British thing has poked its head in a little bit. And my family don't talk about emotions. We don't do that. We're not touchy-feely, just ask my husband. I'm not a touchy-feely person. I don't really enjoy cuddles. That's not me. So when something like death happens in my family, we all go into shutdown mode, really. Work harder mode, because then we might be able to ignore what's going on. I've shared a little bit, but you haven't been here, of our journey recently of some friends of mine who've lost a baby. They had twins and they lost one, and one is still fighting for life. Acceptance and grief is something I don't know if we know how to deal with it. Especially in the church, because we feel like we should just trust God, shouldn't we? That's always our answer. We should just trust God. God knew what God was doing. That person's with God. That should make us feel better. And we kind of push grief aside as this thing that we don't talk about. It's another little bit of taboo for us, like mental health. Preachers can't possibly have mental health problems. That can't happen. So acceptance and grief is just one of those things. How do we accept that God has everything under control? How do we move forward in life when we're feeling this deep sense of loss? I had to use Simon's phone because Lily stole mine. Again, God has a sense of humour, making me panic. But I found many, many verses, like Psalm 34:18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in the spirit. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." Psalm 73:26. And John 14:1 says, "Do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." But again, as I was reading all that, I'm like, well, that's really nice. And that's lovely. But when I'm feeling deep in grief and not accepting things, I don't normally want to turn to my Bible and have that read to me. It kind of makes me want to throw my Bible across the room and tell God where to put it. I don't know how you deal with grief and sadness. I don't know how you accept that God has that under control. I don't know how my friends are doing it right now, to be honest. Because I'm not, and it wasn't my baby. The only thing I hold on to that I did find helpful when I was searching is Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. "He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." I may not appreciate being told to trust God when I'm upset. But one thing I can hold on to is the fact that God promises us that there is a time that is coming that there will be no more mourning. There will be no more pain. There will be no more death or sickness or sadness. There is a time that is coming that God is going to make this okay. And I may not see that time, and my children may not see that time, but a few generations down the line, there will be a time where my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, or someone in my family line is going to get to experience the presence of God right in front of them, taking away pain and sadness and mourning. And that fills me with hope. It fills me with a future. It reminds me that God really does have this under control and that I can accept that. Because I won't be able to be there to take care of my great-grandchildren, probably, unless I make it to 200 and somebody's frozen me. But there will be a time in life where God will take away all of that. And that makes me feel a little bit better. So does that answer your question a little bit? Alright. 20 seconds. What do you think of Stump the Preacher? Now that you get the idea of what I was saying, what do you make of that?
I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed it?
Interesting.
Interesting. Not everybody's going to love everything that Simon and I do. I have to come to terms with that too. I'm not very good at criticism. There's a lot of failures you're learning about me today, actually. I might need to go away and ponder. Simon and
I think we
I-
just all love God and go to God. He
Yeah.
helps us in everything like that.
He does. Well, Simon and I trusted God today, so that's it. Simon and I have this very deep need that we don't want to be the people up the front that just give you a message that's on our hearts and expect it to all transfer into your lives and you to like the same thing as we do. We want you to participate in this. We want to hear your voice. And the way I thought that we could do that is you putting in questions and asking what's on your mind. We may do it again. I may also ask you to fill the bottom box and input suggestions for us to preach. It doesn't have to be like this, but maybe there's a Bible verse that you're thinking about, or a story, or a hot topic that you want us to try and dissect. If you ever have something like that, come to us and ask us, and we will do our very best to prepare a proper sermon in 3 points that will explain that to you. But I hope that you got something out of that. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that those who did put in questions and we attempted to answer, we did enough. If we didn't, let us know and we'll try again. Liam, shut up. It did work. Let's try that more often. Let me pray a benediction and then we'll go out and have some morning tea together and go about your week. But if you do have anything else, do come and tell Simon and I, and we will endeavour to preach on it as we go. May you go knowing that God has this, that God knows your future, that God knows your free will in all its glory, and that God knows every stage of your grief before you even get there. May you go knowing that God is a God above all things, and through all things, and in all things. And may you go with love and peace today. Amen.